Good morning. Today is Friday, April 24th, 2020. Let's go ahead and get started with our last lesson for the week. Take about 30 seconds to prepare your resources if you have not already. You need, as always, a pen, paper, and dictionary.com pulled up in another tab. 30 seconds starts now. Okay, and so our objective today is students will be able to understand the purpose of figurative language and the effects that it has on a work of literature. So extending on tone and mood and types of diction. Yesterday we did descriptive language as a type of diction, and today we'll be doing figurative language, which most of you are familiar with. So this is going to be more like a review, but I would still recommend you follow along for the grammar and revising and editing, and also just to clarify any misconceptions that you may have. And so we're going to start with your vocab for today. You have two words today that I want you to define. The first is adversity. Again, that word is pronounced adversity. Your second word that I want you to define is advocate. So you're going to look up advocate and you're going to see that there's a noun and a verb. The noun is pronounced advocate, but I want you looking at the verb, which is advocate, to advocate. And so that's the definition that I want you to find is the verb today, not the noun. I'm going to give you about a minute to get started, and then after that, you can pause and continue if you need. But for now, I'll give you about a minute. Okay, and so if you need more time, you can go ahead and pause this video and continue with your vocab. But I'm going to go ahead and jump into our grammar workshop for today. Continuing on with nouns. As you know, a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. Take a moment to remind yourself, what is a pronoun? What is the purpose of a pronoun? So you should have in your notes that a pronoun replaces a noun or a noun phrase. We have spent 2 days on them so far, and we're going to continue with pronouns today, this time looking at the possessive pronouns. And so again, you don't really too much need to know, is it subjective, objective, possessive, or reflective, but you do need to know how to use these pronouns. And so let's do a couple of examples. Your possessive pronouns are my, mine, our, ours, your, yours, his, her, hers, their, and theirs. So when you think of possessive, you think of like having ownership over something. When you use a possessive pronoun, it's to express having ownership over something. And so let me show you what that looks like. Like we've been doing, we're going to change each proper noun, which we know is a specific noun that has a title and a capital letter. We're going to change each proper noun into a pronoun. Jesse's complaining was starting to annoy everyone. So our proper noun in here is Jesse. However, because of that apostrophe S, we see that Jessie is having ownership over something. In particular, she has ownership of her complaining. And so instead of saying Jessie's, we are going to say her. Her complaining was starting to annoy everyone. Let's try another one. It was not Harry and Susie's fault that the dance got canceled. So let's take a moment and let's identify our proper noun or nouns. So you should have identified Harry and Susie as your proper nouns. However, because of the apostrophe S again, there's ownership over fault, over whose fault it was. And so Harry and Susie is plural, and so it's going to be their. It was not their fault that the dance got canceled. Hopefully you got that one correct. If not, here's another opportunity to try again. Mike's car broke down and we had no way of getting there. So I want you to try this one on your own. Identify your proper noun and then look at your possessive pronoun chart and tell me what do you think you would replace that proper noun with? Which pronoun? And so you should have identified Mike as your proper noun. Again, having ownership over something. In particular, Mike has ownership over the car. And so it's going to be his car broke down and we had no way of getting there. Hopefully you got all of these right. If not, you will have an opportunity to practice even more on your exit ticket today. Moving on to our revising and editing. Yesterday we took a look at periods, and now today we're going to add on to that and we're going to take a look at question marks. And so a question mark is used for asking. It is used at the end of a question. And I know that we know that for the most part, but it's just important to understand how to use these things because we can forget in our writing. And because next year is going to be so heavy on writing, and honestly, all of high school and college will be heavy on writing, we just want to make sure we tie up these loose ends so we can feel more confident in our editing. And so what we're going to do is determine where the question mark and or period, because I'm going to add on from with periods as we did yesterday as well. Where do we put the question mark in each sentence and where do we put the period in each sentence? So for example, are you sure you want to go to the dance? I am not a very good dancer. And so here we have two separate thoughts, and you have to decide, okay, where do these thoughts separate? And then which one is a question and which one is a statement? And so, reading, just knowing when to stop, are you sure you want to go to the dance? Seems like a complete thought to me. And not just a complete thought, but it seems like it's a question as well. However, I'm going to need to read the next half of the statement to see if that also can stand on its own. So the next half would read, I am not a very good dancer. That's also a separate thought. So I know here I have two separate sentences. Are you sure you want to go to the dance? Is a question. So I'm going to put a question mark there. I am not a very good dancer is not a question, it's a statement. And so a period is going to go there. And so this will read, are you sure you want to go to the dance? I am not a very good dancer. Let's try another one. Is anyone else going? She asked. So this is just one sentence, but what do we notice is different about this sentence? What do you think? And so what makes this sentence different is that we have a quote. And so quotations, when they are full thoughts, if you think back to your capitalization lesson the other day, you are going to use grammar when you have quotations as well. And so is anyone else going is a separate thought within the sentence, and that's going to have a question mark. And then she asked finishes this sentence, and so a period goes there. So is anyone else going? She asked is a complete thought. And last one, I think I am going. What about you? I want you to try this one on your own. Where does our question mark go and where does our period go? And so you should have had, I think I am going, period. What about you? Question mark. And then, of course, remembering our capitalization rules, the new sentence is starting. And so you are going to have to capitalize that W in what. So it'll read, I think I am going. What about you? Awesome job with that. Let's go ahead and jump into our lesson for today. We are looking again at figurative language. And so, just to continue to grain it in your head, because I know diction is new for us, diction is the author's word choice. There are many types of ways to use diction. Yesterday, we looked at diction in the form of descriptive language, and today we're looking at figurative language, which is a type of descriptive language where the meaning is not to be taken literally. So, we talked a lot about the literal meaning and the figurative meaning. Figurative language is not to be taken literally. It's more of like a figure of speech. There's always a deeper meaning behind it. So the goal with figurative language is always to figure out the deeper meaning. Just a reminder, all diction can help us understand the tone and mood, including figurative language. And I want to keep reminding you of this because next week we are going to take all of these different types of diction, figurative language, descriptive language, and the other ones we cover. And we're going to ask ourselves, how does this help us understand the tone and mood of short stories and poems? Take a moment and copy down this definition. And so there's lots of different types of figurative language. I'm sure we can name them all, or most of them off the top of our head. I'm only going to go over 4 today. I will go over more as we get further into these lessons, but I'm going to just refresh your memory with 4 that I know you already know before I begin to jump in some ones that we may not be entirely familiar with. And so that's why I said today is going to be more of like a review for those who do know it and then extra practice for those who need it. And so the first one is, of course, a metaphor, which is a comparison in which one thing is said to be another. And so when you have a metaphor, you're comparing two things that are not alike. For example, she is a walking dictionary. And so the two things being compared is she and a dictionary. So a girl being compared to a dictionary, they are two completely different things. But what is this saying? Essentially, it's just saying that she knows a lot of words. She knows a lot of definitions, has a very extensive vocabulary. But this comparison would be called a metaphor because they're two things that are not alike and they're being compared. Your next one that I want you to know is a simile, which we all know we hear simile and we all say like or as. It's two things being compared using like or as. For example, as tall as a giraffe. She is as tall as a giraffe. We have the word as there, and so we know that that's a simile. If we were to take out as and just say a giraffe, it would be a metaphor. So the only difference between a metaphor and a simile is that a simile is going to have like or as, and a metaphor will not. That is the only difference. They are both still comparing two unlike things. Next, you're going to have a hyperbole, which is an exaggerated statement. You heard me use the one in class a lot. I'm so hungry I could eat a whole horse. No one can eat a whole horse. That's an extreme exaggeration. Another one would be my backpack weighs a ton. So a ton is 1,000 pounds. No way that your backpack weighs that much. That's an exaggerated statement. And lastly, I want you to know personification. Personification is when you give human qualities to animals or objects. For example, the stars winked at me. Stars cannot actually wink, but this is just a reference to how they're shining. One that I use in class a lot that you all know is the trees danced in the wind. Trees cannot actually dance, but that would just be a way to describe that trees were blowing in the wind. And so take a moment to make sure you have all of these in your notes. I'll give you about 30 more seconds to wrap up before I go to the next slide, where we're going to do some practice with these 4 types of figurative language. Okay, and so let's do some practice here. I'm going to show you some sentences and we're going to break them down and figure out what type of figurative language are we looking at here. First one. My new baby brother was like a cute, cuddly teddy bear. So, what stands out in this statement that helps us understand which type of figurative language this is? So, if we look closely, we see my new baby brother was like a cute, cuddly teddy bear. The baby brother is being compared to a cute, cuddly teddy bear. And what stands out here is we have this word like. And we know that if we have like or as, it is a simile. Next one. The thunder roared in the evening sky. And so the object that we're talking about here is thunder. And what did the thunder do? It roared. And so thunder roaring is a figure of speech because roaring is something that is a human trait. And so we're going to be calling that personification. Next one. The doctor said my temperature was hotter than the sun. The doctor said my temperature was hotter than the sun. So, when we look here at hotter than the sun, we know that that's like not actually possible. Um, the sun is like millions of degrees hot. You would not be alive if you were hotter than the sun. And so this is an exaggeration, which is known as a hyperbole. And our very last one, her laugh is music to my ears. And so we're comparing two things here. We're comparing a laugh to music. They are not the same. And so we have to ask ourselves, is this a metaphor or a simile? Because we have two comparisons. Well, I don't see like and I don't see as, and so I know this is a metaphor. Hopefully, we got all of those right. If not, you're about to get a ton of practice on your assignment for today. You have 10 multiple choice questions in the general assignments tab where it says April 24th practice. This is due Monday because I don't like to have things due over the weekend, but this is going to be due Monday before midnight. Guys, it's only 10 multiple choice questions. I would recommend you just do it right now because it's fairly easy. Fairly simple. Don't create extra work for yourself. I don't want to see us getting behind on the assignments. But you do have until Monday to get that done. And so just be as responsible as you can about it. That being said, I hope you all have an amazing weekend. I am online all day today. If you have any questions, just please reach out and I will help you to the best of my ability. Thank you all and have a great weekend.